One.
This is Michael LoveJoi here, back the second installment here of the Love Zone here with the urban entrepreneur, Mr. Darryl Scott. We're so happy to have you back here, Mr. Scott.
Thank you.
Telling you the
Thank
truth.
you for inviting.
Headlines are grabbing all over the world and all over America. We're going to cover some of the bases here, but let's get back to the fallout and the ripple effect of the downturn here in Atlantic City. Education.
Education might be a major issue because the parents of the K through 12, 12 through college may not have the money to supply them with the books, the pencils, the paper, the tuition, things of that nature. So it's going to be very tough. Now, this kind of environment is very depressing also for people that have worked in the casino industry a long time, and then they get slammed in 1 year. This is the 8th month, and you have 4 casinos closing by the 1st of September 2014. So it's going to be a very rocky road as far as going off to college, the school year, people buying school clothes, book bags, things of that nature. That's the ripple effect that I was talking about earlier that's going to hit a lot of these merchants because the money's just not there.
Now, to partner with that, there's an element that comes along with desperation, along with destabilization of someone's economic reality.
Yes.
And that's crime.
Yes.
Is there any indication that the crime levels in our area is on the rise?
Well, Atlantic City, in certain periodicals, is in the top 10 for crime on the East Coast. You and I may not see it because we know the area, we're from the area, but when you look at tourism, the mother and the daughter that were stabbed a couple years ago on Pacific Avenue.
Yes, sir, right there by the hospital.
Exactly.
Yes.
That kind of situation is the ones that people remember, especially because they were from Canada. And Atlantic City has always done a lot of business with Canadians. So, far as the casinos not being able to employ 6,055 people, the crime rate will go up, guaranteed. Now, what kind of crime? Will it be white-collar crime? Will it be prostitution? Will it be snatch and grab crime? It's going to be all that.
Well, we just had an interview with our beautiful sister, Ms. Tamara Lewis from the Women's Center.
Okay.
And she was illustrating to us about the kind of crime, the kind of abuses that is taking place in the homes in reference to the destabilization of this region by the downturn in the casino industry. They are seeing a lot of things come to the women, so men are being abused and females being abused also. Prostitution, incest, all kinds of issues now. In your purview, ground zero, are we at a point where we're going to have to begin to start thinking about going on this voyage ourselves, handling our own business?
Well, I stated that in my last interview when I was talking about how, as a race of people, we're being walked down a road and we can't see the end of that road. And I was referring to the differentiate between Clyde Bundy wearing a sidearm and telling the U.S. government he wasn't paying taxes, and there was no militarization of the police. They were more in a negotiating state, versus Ferguson, where there is a militarization of the police force, almost setting us up for a King Alfred Rex 84 environment.
Absolutely. And for those people who are not familiar with the King Alfred, can you explain the King Alfred plan?
King Alfred Plan, Rex 84, is a government plan to put mainly black people in concentration camps. They've already got the train set up, and the detention centers will be old military bases that have been deactivated.
Decommissioned and deactivated. Yes, sir.
And some of them that are already active.
Right.
Now, what happens is, from being in the military, they always have trains. The rail system can go right to a military installation. So that's what they plan on doing in the King Alfred Rex 84. This particular thing in Ferguson, Missouri, was a dry run. And anybody looking at it could see that it was an overkill. But it was a dry run, so there had to be overkill.
Now, we understand that there are police departments throughout America. Now that we're talking about the Ferguson issue, the police departments throughout America have become militarized.
Yes.
Weaponized.
Yes.
They're not police officers anymore, they're soldiers.
They're paramilitary, that's what they be considered.
Yes, sir. Now, in Chicago,
Yes.
we just got it last Sunday,
Yes.
that there is a movement by senators to have the authorities to come in
Yes.
and arrest
Yes.
and detain over 20,000 so-called thugs or gangs or street organizations, gangster disciples. Can you elaborate on the plan about this dry run and what's coming down the pike as far as initiating this plan?
Okay. I'm very well versed on this particular plan. This plan is going to have what they call foreign nationals. United Nations already have foreign nationals on American military bases and camps training for civil disorder. This is already in effect. Now, the reason why I said this was a dry run because it was clear for people to see that this was not a way that you handle a protest with armament, tear gas, and things of that nature. Now, the people that were looting and things of that nature, what they did was they discredited what the overall group was trying to do. So the media ran with it in a negative way after they was positive at first. So in other words, they let the people that were looting, they gave them more attention than the brother, Mike Brown, that died.
Well, similar to the situation with Katrina, when the focus was not on those who were victims
Yes.
of the dams being blown up.
Yes.
They focused on those who were looting.
Yes.
So the little bottled water or the little Kool-Aid that was stolen is more important than their actual lives that are being affected by the unrest. Now, let me ask you this. You're saying that there's foreign nationals
Yes.
on the military bases
Yes.
that are there to assist
Yes.
during the time of civil unrest.
Yes.
What is their particular role at these bases?
Okay. It's a well thought out plan because if you noticed in Ferguson, and I have to say that because it's fresh in people's mind, most of the law enforcement were Caucasian. So they've already thought out if we use foreign nationals, even against Caucasians, because some of these Caucasians are going to get caught up like the blacks. The foreign national has no tie to America. So he's there for civil obedience, disobedience. So they want foreign nationals to be trained in this so they'll be desensitized towards the people.
I read somewhere that they had 150,000 Russian troops here.
It's all in motion, Brother Michael.
Yes,
It's all in motion, and what has happened with Ferguson is, first of all, from my estimation, there was no need to loot. The protest was fabulous, and it was done right in a nonviolent way. But what we failed to realize that all our issues are socio-economic, because we have $1,400,000,000,000 that we have purchasing power that we properly don't utilize. That's why nobody respects us.
Say that again.
We have $1,400,000,000,000 that we've been spending yearly since 2011. We went over the $1 trillion mark in 2011. Now it's up to $1,400,000,000,000 in consumption each year, as 40 to 50 million African Americans, Negro, colored, our persuasion. That's what we spend.
Yes, sir. Now, they showed a caption in one of the magazines covering the story in reference to, I saw foreigners or Middle Easterns with AK-47,
Yes,
Uzis,
Yes.
Glocks, whatever, protecting their stores.
yes.
Now, they said that they're not going to stand for looting. But see, could you explain the economic looting that had already been going on prior to the murder of Michael Brown?
The economic looting that foreigners bring to black neighborhoods is the drug paraphernalia they sell to our people, the alcohol, the beer, the malt liquor beer, the inferior food products, that sugar-coated, sugar-laden food. Those are the crimes that they commit daily in our neighborhoods, but our people don't understand our purchasing power. So just like they went in those stores and looted them, they're going to go right back to them after all this quells down.
Well, let me ask you this, Mrs. Scott. If it happens here locally,
Yes,
here in Atlantic City, Pleasantville, wherever, will we see basically the same thing that we saw in Ferguson? The response to the rising of those who are displeased with the treatment of someone that maybe have suffered the same thing that Michael Brown suffered at the hands of Officer Darryl, what's his last name?
Darren Wilson.
Darren Wilson. Do we have the same response?
That's a very good question, because the frustration is throughout the black communities, whether it's Ferguson, St. Louis, Chicago, Atlantic City, Philadelphia, New York, LA.
But I'm talking about here. Will we see the same response?
The same response will probably be the same, because we haven't found the solution to our problem. And our solution to our problem is aggregate our resources and say, okay, we're going to start with not purchasing from that particular group of people.
So, would you say that again? You say aggregate, or it's another word for pool your resources.
Pool your resources. McDonald's does something to you. You can protest. We see we have the ability to peacefully protest. You can say, we're not going to purchase anything from this McDonald's store. Now, that is more devastating than going in and breaking a window and stealing a pair of sneakers. That's more devastating, because after a week or 2 weeks of that, our purchasing power is so strong that they'll say, okay, let's come to the table and let's negotiate something so we can get back to y'all coming in here and buying our Big Macs.
Well, understand that your purchasing power is power, and the money that's flowing through your hands is power. So we got to understand that dynamic. Now, please tell me, in the Ferguson case,
Yes,
they showed the young man, or a young man, that was in a store prior to Michael Brown being shot,
yes,
as being Michael Brown.
yes.
There have been some who have said that it was not, in your purview, estimation of what you have seen and studied, was it Michael Brown?
To me, it looked like it could be Michael Brown from the bill. But if you look at it and you go through your mind, outside of the bill, the face is fuzzy. So you only have his build as a 6'2", 6'3", 275 type individual.
Now, how long was it after the store incident that Michael Brown was shot?
10 minutes.
10 minutes.
10 minutes later.
I saw a caption where it showed that the young man who was in the store had flip-flops on.
Whoa.
Michael Brown did not have flip-flops on, ladies and gentlemen. We're exposing it right here in the Love Zone. He did not have flip-flops on. He had sneakers.
Wow.
That was not right.
Wow.
Take a look at the video again,
That's strong.
people,
That's strong.
and see what the young man had on his feet and what Michael Brown had on his feet when he was laying in the street.
Now, to prove what you're saying may have some validity, that the shot of Michael Brown laying in the street is off, far off. But I do remember seeing him have flip-flops on. I do remember that. And he had this little socks that they wear with them. So I can't remember seeing when he's laying on the ground what his footwear was, but that's an interesting point.
Yeah, check it out, because it was pointed out to me and I saw it and I made the comparison. And I said, wow.
Well, I haven't been able to see when he's laying in the street what his footgear is.
Yes, sir. That's very important, Jim.
Yeah, I will.
Now, let me ask you one more question in reference to the Ferguson incident.
Yes.
And the overall, this evidently is a plan, because you outlined the King Alfred.
Yes.
Yes. They plan to divide the United States up into several districts.
Yes.
Under this plan.
Yes.
Could you explain to the people what that's about?
Okay. What's going to happen is the urban areas are going to be detained, and they're going to be detained at these military installations. Now, the reason why I say it's a dry run for King Alfred Rex 84 is because when they had the same situation with Clive Bundy, the government did not react the same way, and they know that the militia, patriot people are ready. They're ready to go to war. It's not the black man. The black man is misguided, and he doesn't understand his purchasing power, but he's easily can be defined as an enemy by his color. But when they had Clive Bundy stating that he will not spend a penny of the $1 million that he owes the federal government for grazing 500 cattle on his land, and he had armed people in his camp, and nothing was done, you can see for yourself that there's a big differential of the U.S. government, the way they look at black people, local governments where they look at black people, versus local governments where they look at white people, and local governments, federal government where they look at white folks. There's a big differential.
Well, I like to just name a few names in reference to people who have had run-ins with the law.
Yes.
And the outcome. Eric Garner.
Eric Garner was choked in July of this summer, 2014, for allegedly selling Lucy's on the street corner to help supplement his income.
Well, make sure you clarify what Lucy's are. He didn't say Lucy's, he said Lucy's.
Lucy's are cigarettes that are not in the cigarette pack.
In the cigarette pack.
And they sell them for 50 cents, $1 on the street.
What a way to die for cigarettes. What about Trayvon Martin?
Trayvon Martin, with this case, with Mike Brown, has a lot of similarities. One of the similarities that I saw was a website set up already for Darren Wilson. Has already somewhere in the neighborhood of $10,000 to $25,000. It's only been like 10 days into it. George hasn't been arrested, hasn't been indicted. Same thing happened with George Zimmerman. He wasn't arrested or indicted to 30 days. By that time, he had $300,000 to his website. A lot of contradictory in how both Trayvon Martin died and Mike Brown. So there's a lot of similarities in the preliminary stages. They did 3 autopsies on the young man. Um, um, it's a lot of similarities, and the federal government knows that they're not going to do nothing because there's too many Trayvon Martins, too many Mike Browns, too many Earl Gardners, too many Sean Bells to open up a federal investigation.
Let me give you another name, Oscar Grant.
Oscar Rand.
The young man, they made a movie out called Fruitvale.
Oh yes.
Brother in Oakland, California.
You could go on. You could go on. The brother that was allegedly playing the music too loud, and he wasn't even driving a vehicle, and the white man walked out and shot him dead.
Well, ladies and gentlemen, we're actually giving you these names and cases to illustrate to you that, just in the words of the great wine industry, it's time. It's time to make a change. A change toward what?
A change towards being more collective, more informed, and stop looking for someone to do something for you that hasn't been doing anything for you. I mean, I don't know Eric Holder. I heard he's a good lawyer. But what happened was the USA Today ran an article how a lot of things were going on in Washington, and at the time he was in law enforcement in some kind of capacity. I don't know if he was assistant. I think he was the assistant attorney general. And nothing was done. See, when you're dealing with blacks, because of our history of 1857, 3/5 of a human being, Dred Scott decision, there's a lot of turmoil when you start talking about a person that's 3/5 of a human being, and now you're talking about giving him the right to say that was wrong how you killed that man. But in your U.S. Constitution, black people are 3/5 of a human being. So white folks look at black people from that perspective. So it's a very touchy situation, Brother Michael, when we name this litany of names who've been disrespected by the federal government, local governments, and our people still keep looking to riot instead of using economics to quell some of our problems that we have. That's the only recourse. Stop buying from people who don't respect you.
Well, there you have it from the urban entrepreneur, Mr. Darryl Scott. We're going to take a pause for the cause and come back for our next segment. And we're going to talk about one of the headline grabbing stories that's taking place over in Africa with the Ebola situation. We'll see into it too. This is my LoveJoi. LoveJoi.